Children, have you ever wondered why the broad disc-shaped leaves of the lotus plant float freely on the surface of water? The answer is the flat surfaces of the leaves are modified to receive plenty of sunlight to carry out photosynthesis. That's why the broad disc shaped leaves of the lotus plant float freely on the surface of water. So, this is the answer. Sometimes plants change or modify their body parts to live and grow in a particular habitat. Like this, many plants also change or modify their body parts to live and grow in a particular habitat. These changes in the structure and features that allows a plant to survive in habitat are called adaptations. So what is adaptations? The changes in the structure and features that allows a plant to survive in a habitat are called adaptations. Based on their habitat, plants are classified into three different types. How are they classified? They are classified into three types. What are they? They are hydrophytes, mesophytes and xerophytes. How are they? Hydrophytes, mesophytes and xerophytes. As you know, hydrophytes are the plants that live in the water, and mesophytes are the plants that live on the land, and xerophytes are the plants which live on the desert. Let's see one by one. Hydrophytes. Plants that are adapted to live in water are called hydrophytes. Hydro means water and phyta means plants. Hydrophytes grow in lakes, ponds or rivers. They can be divided into three types. These hydrophytes are divided into three types. What are they? They are free floating hydrophytes, fixed floating hydrophytes and submerged hydrophytes. Let's see free floating hydrophytes first. Free floating hydrophytes are water plants which float freely on the surface of water. Examples of free floating hydrophytes are duckweed, green algae, wolffia, water hyacinth and pistia. Fixed floating hydrophytes. These plants are fixed to the bottom of the pond or tank and the leaves and flowers float on the surface of water. Examples of fixed floating hydrophytes are lotus and water lily. Let's see about submerged hydrophytes. These plants are fixed to the bottom of the water body and they remain fully submerged underwater. Examples of submerged hydrophytes are hydrilla, vallisneria, pondweed, tape grass, etc. Let's see some of the adaptations of hydrophytes. In the case of roots, how are they adapted? They have poorly developed. Yes, the roots are poorly developed and sometimes they may be absent and the roots are spongy. Why do we have these adaptations? There is reason for adaptations are they are not required for absorption of water and nutrients. So roots are not required for absorption of water and nutrients. And these roots does not allow the plant to float freely also. If it has a long root or a strong root, it will not allow the plant to float freely. That's why the root is adapted like this. How are they adapted? They are poorly developed and they are spongy. Let us see about the stems. Adaptations in stems. How are the adaptations in hydrophytes regarding stem? It is long and slender as it is in lotus. And how it is spongy. And next, why the reasons for adaptation? Why it is adapted like that? It is adapted to allow them to move freely in water. And also the air spaces make them light. Now let's see the adaptations of leaves, that is the floating leaves. How are the floating leaves? The floating leaves are broad and flat. And how are the upper surfaces? The upper surfaces are coated with wax. Why they are coated with wax? Because they prevent decay and injury in the water. So as it lives in the water, there is a chance of getting decayed, isn't it? So that's why it is coated with wax. And why do they have broad and flat leaves? Because to produce maximum amount of photosynthesis or to involve in maximum amount of photosynthesis. Okay, next one. Leaves submerged. Regarding the leaves submerged, how are they adapted? They are thin and long. Why they are thin and long? What is the reason for it? It is for leaves resistant to water currents. So water current will be there in the water. So in order to resist that, it has the leaves are thin and long. Next, coming to the mesophytes. These are land plants which grow in moist habitat with moderate water supply. Meso means intermediate. That is the plants that we can see all around, or they are called as mesophytes. Okay, so they cannot grow in places with too little or too much of water also. Yes, it should be moderate. It cannot live both in the, it is too little water and as well as too much of water also it cannot live. So the plants that lives on the land is called as the mesophytes. That is, the plants that grow in the moist habitat is called mesophytes. Examples of these mesophytes are rose, sunflower, hibiscus, wheat, etc. Now let us see the adaptations of mesophytes. How are the plants adapted to live in the moist habitat? The root system. The root system is well developed. And then how is the stem? The stems are aerial. They are found above the earth. Next one. Third, the leaves are generally large, broad and of different shapes. How are the leaves? They are generally large, broad and of different shapes. Then coming to the xerophytes. Plants which grow in dry desert-like conditions are called xerophytes. So the plants that grow in the desert area is called the xerophytes. Zero means dry and phyta means plants. How are the plant body is adapted? The plant body is adapted to suit high temperature and water scarce conditions. So the plant body is adapted to suit high temperature and water scarce conditions. Next, adaptations of xerophytes. How are the xerophytes adapted to that particular temperature or particular habitat? They have a very long root system to go deep into the soil in search of water. How is the root system? It is long, and root system will be well developed. And what is it? It goes deep into the soil, so that, why do they go deep into the soil? In searching of water. In plants like Opentia, the stem is flat, green and thick and does the function of the leaf. Yes, what is the function of the leaf? It is photosynthesis. So the green color structure that we can see is the stem. It is not the leaf. So the stem is green color and they are thick and does the function of photosynthesis. That is, does the function of the leaf, which is the photosynthesis. Next, the leaves are reduced to thorns or spines. Why do the leaves are reduced to thorns or spines in the case of Opentia, all the desert plants? It is because to prevent excessive loss of water through transpiration. So if leaf is there, transpiration will take place. You know what is meant by transpiration? That is, excess of water comes out by the process called transpiration. So what happens if the leaf is broad and if it has more leaves, if it is big, means what happens? Well, excess of water loss will be taking place. So that's why, in order to prevent that, the leaves are reduced to thorns or spines in the case of Opentia. Children, do you like to know about Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose? He was a scientist who discovered a device called crescograph for measuring plants' response to various stimuli. He invented this in the 20th century. Do you know the meaning of stimuli? Responding to various stimuli? It means responding to touch, responding to the sunlight, and responding to the water. Yes, you know the plants moving towards the water, the plants moving towards the earth, moving towards the, that is, when we touch the leaf, it is closing, the leaves will close, isn't it? All these are responding to some stimuli. Okay, so he invented a device called crescograph. He received several honors, including the Fellow of the Royal Society. He was honored as he was honored by the Fellow of the Royal Society also, and he was born on 30th June 1858, and he was a biologist, physicist, as well as an early writer of science fiction. And the Indian Botanic Garden was renamed as Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose Indian Botanic Garden on 25th 2009 in honor of J.C. Bose. These are the things about Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose. Thank you.